It is orange and blue today. No days off for Marvin Mims. And a favorite Step Brothers quote that maybe comes to fruition, Mace.
Well, I will say you did spur it. Like, you did use the term here. Marvin Mims Jr. didn't describe it this way. You put it in the question. So I do think you're trying to make it happen a little bit, in my opinion.
Trying to make fetch happen?
Yes, you could say that. In this case, trying to refer to, in a jovial way as, Marvin Mims Jr. and Bo Nix as best friends.
Yeah, are they best friends? Not sure they're quite Mace and Cease level yet, but the reason I asked it, Mace, is because, my God, that touchdown throw into double coverage, it's a thing of beauty. Marvin Mims described it today. But that's why I said that, because of the chemistry that is built between these two. Mace, it seems to be getting stronger and stronger every week.
Yeah, and the funny thing for Marvin Mims Jr., it started with him getting running back reps, right? Yeah. Finding more use for him. And then as he has gained confidence in that role, we've seen the menu for him as a receiver expand to the point where, A, in the last 4 games, we're talking about him being on a 1,200-yard season-long pace, and B, being on the positive end of 2 deep shots against the Bengals, following that 93-yard catch and run that he had against the Cleveland Browns a few weeks earlier. And if not for Bo Nix missing on that pass down the right sideline early in the fourth quarter against the Chargers, where Nix underthrew it and Mims had to come back for the ball, and there should have been interference, but there was no call, we'd be talking about these deep connections literally being an average of once a week for these two. Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a weekly connection. And did they just become best friends? Yeah, maybe. I mean, the chemistry is very strong, so you love to see that. And you love to see the teammates who rally around Marvin Mims. They know the, not necessarily struggle, but they know the work that guy has put in. Mace, we've seen it behind the scenes. And how Marvin has stayed so laser focused in what he wants to do in terms of being an offensive weapon and making the Pro Bowl 2 times from rookie year to second year. I believe only Von Miller's done that.
Yeah, of course, Mims doing it as a punt returner, which I think also is testament to the respect that he has around the league, because he hasn't been quite as explosive on punt returns this year as he was last year. But when you have 2/3 of the vote coming from players and coaches, I think that's crucial here, because they know just what goes into a game plan and how much they have to account for and adjust for their punt coverage, knowing Mims is out there. Because that's something that when you're voting, you think about, okay, which one of these guys is the toughest to prepare for? Marvin Mims Jr., still the toughest punt returner to prepare for in the AFC, if not the entire NFL. That's why, even though we've only just started to see hints of the breakaways, like he had that long return against Indianapolis to set up a touchdown as the Broncos were coming back against the Colts, even though it hasn't been quite as dynamic on punt returns as last year, because he's forcing opponents to account for him and kick away from him and design their coverage away from him to minimize his returns. Ball knows ball. Those guys know how they have to adjust and what sort of stress he puts on them. And that's why you're talking about Marvin Mims Jr. as being the AFC punt return representative for a second straight year.
Mace, we've done this a long time, and not everything's just a blanket statement, but wouldn't you say that when we hear teammates talk about a guy, we can kind of get to know, like, the behind the scenes? Like, we don't see all of practice, but when you hear, we've got Adam Troutman talking about Mims, we've got Mike McGlinchey talking about Mims, wouldn't you say that the 20 plus years you and I have done this, like, guys don't just say this about anybody willy-nilly?
Well, it's the specificity of what they say as well. I mean, you can toss up general platitudes about anybody. I mean, if you don't really know what to say, it's like Krusty the Clown when he doesn't know who Tom Landry is on his Christmas special, refers to him as, look, it's respected private citizen Tom Landry, right? The most general thing you could possibly say, right? And so when you hear guys talking about teammates and other players, like, like if it's just, I don't really know what to say, I'm just going to lob something positive here, that's fine. But then we'll play the comments from Mike McGlinchey and Adam Troutman. It's really kind of diving into what makes Marvin Mims unique, and both of them talking about what he's got up here, that he's a smart football player. And it's because he's a smart football player that he can go into meeting rooms with the running backs, the tight ends, the receivers, and pick up all of it. Not that it isn't a challenge. He said today it is a challenge. It's something he had to kind of figure out, but they wouldn't have asked that of him if they didn't understand that what he's got up here is one of his superpowers.
Yeah, intelligence. I think that's where we'll start with Adam Troutman talking about Marvin Mims and what sticks out to him.
I think it opens up a lot. I think having just like a deep, like a vertical threat is a huge deal. Obviously, defenses have to respect that. They might have to play more too high. Maybe it makes it easier to run the ball. But yeah, it does a lot. And he's been using multiple roles, and the best thing is mentally he can handle it all. Because if he couldn't, then obviously we wouldn't be able to do all the stuff that we do with him. But because he's a highly intelligent player, we can put him wherever we want.
So mentally he can handle it all, and then he puts more mental stress on the opposing defense because the fact that you have this deep threat now, they have to account for it. And does that set things up to maybe get some improvement in the run game as well going forward? If you see more too high safety looks, like Adam Troutman said, if you see that, then all of a sudden, are you going to see more lanes for Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Javonte Williams when they're asked to carry the ball? Although based on the use last week and how Javonte Williams was basically Samaje Perine, pass protection back who could occasionally catch passes, if those lanes happen, those lanes are happening for Estime and McLaughlin.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the declaration of influence. When you have a guy like Marvin Mims that can take the top off, it's really been remarkable, Mace, because as we chronicle his short pro career so far, this type of step we weren't seeing in August. We weren't seeing in September. It's really kind of the, I don't know, somewhat uncomfortable, perhaps at times, like introduction of, hey, you're going to be a running back, kind of.
Go back to August, and it's uncomfortable for Marvin Mims Jr. because John Morton, on the Broncos staff, was, at times very rough on him. They're not rough and tough on you verbally if they don't believe that you've got more than you're showing. That they don't believe in they only do that if they care, if they know that there's another level you can get to, and they believe you can get to that level. But there was some intense coaching of Marvin Mims Jr. happening this offseason and in a training camp. To the point where sometimes you'd look and you'd see that he would look frustrated at times during training camp. But it's a long season, and there's a lot of development that can happen during the season. Development isn't just something that happens on the practice field in the off season. There's coaching and teaching going on every day out there. Like, that process doesn't stop just because you're in game preparation. That process, if anything, intensifies a little bit. And the other thing is that Marvin Mims Jr. has met the challenges put down of him. Like, okay, we need you to learn. We need to sit in meetings with the tight ends and running backs as well as the receivers. Fine. Okay, I'll do that. And I can handle it, and I can learn the role. I'll learn the various aspects of the role that's in front of me now. And the result is an offense that has one more crucial weapon than it had before early November. And it also makes you feel very confident about Marvin Mims Jr. long-term as well, because while the punt returning is good, what's going to keep him around for the long haul is what he can do on offense. Maybe he's not exactly a joker, as Sean Payton talked about a few weeks ago, but he's in the club. He's behind the rope, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not as big as some jokers, but someone who's becoming not only effective, but effective in terms of creating mismatches because you can move him around so much.
And now if you're an opponent, you got to plan for him. That sucks. Sorry for you that you have to plan for Marvin Mims out there with that speed and with the various ways that they're going to use him. It's not yet a tell. Hopefully it never is a tell when Marvin Mims is out there, Mace. Mm-hmm. But it's not a tell when he's out there because I don't know if he's running a route, catching a pass, taking a handoff, taking a toss play, like all sorts of different things that Mims can do. That's what stresses a defense and an opponent.
Well, it gives them more to think about it. And also in their preparation, if they're having to spend all this time on Marvin Mims Jr., that's less time they're spending on something else because it's time is a finite quantity, right? Like you only have but so much of it.
Right.
And if you're spending extra time on Marvin Mims Jr., maybe that's a little bit less time you're investing into how to defend Courtland Sutton on the 9-ball or how to account for Jaleel McLaughlin when he bursts off tackle. All these things are going to open up. And the other thing also is if you've got to devote somebody to Marvin Mims Jr., whether it's too high safety or whether telling that safety, okay, your job is to shadow Marvin Mims Jr. Okay, you're taking, that's something you're taking away from elsewhere. And that's going to open things up. I mean, sometimes the impact of Marvin Mims Jr. isn't going to be reflected in his own numbers, but the numbers for others, and really kind of the numbers for the offense, which really, except for the Colts game in the last few weeks, the offense has been by and large effective and dynamic, and becoming more dynamic here as you get close to the playoffs, and just in the nick of time too, because it's happening as the defense is fading.
Yes, defense is fading, offense is getting a little bit more playmaking, and it's exactly what you need. But the description, the reason why I ask, and I said best friends with Marvin Mims, is because that play in double coverage to tie the game, Mace, honestly, when Bo Nix let that go, I thought it was Sutton, because that's the type of play you throw to Sutton. That's not yet the type of play you throw to Marvin Mims.
Certainly not in a high leverage situation like that, too.
Right. I mean,
you're not only getting it to Marvin Mims Jr., you're doing it at the most urgent time of the game. You're doing it on 4th down, last shot, no tomorrow in this game, no second chance, and between two defenders, and that's another thing. It's Marvin Mims Jr. He's not as lanky, he's not as lengthy, he doesn't have the wingspan of a lot of the Broncos' other receivers. But as Yoda says, size matters not. Like, right? That was a bad Yoda impression. Yes.
Determination.
Judge me not by my size, do you? No, for my ally as the Force. He had the Force working with him on that touchdown catch. It's just too bad that didn't come up. It isn't something more than a footnote, unfortunately, based on the results of the game.
Yeah, based on those results. But when I asked Marvin, like, how important was it for you to become best friends with Bo during the season? Here's what Marvin had to say.
Yeah, I think you can kind of see it go along. I mean, in that last catch in the Bengals game, I think the big thing, I think honestly, I was the only option on that play. If you just look at the all 22, Vele's on a quick out, and then me just having a deeper route, him having time to just kind of throw it up, and then me making a play. It's all great things for him. But I mean, we talk about in the receiver room all the time, just trying to make his job as easy as possible. Especially with play calls and stuff like that. I mean, every team kind of essentially gets to the same play, but we have different motions, different sets, all that different stuff, and just make the job as easy as possible for him. I think that's been the main goal of the receiver room this year, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job at it. There's some low times, there's some high times, just like every other team in the NFL, but just as much as we can help Bo, the better we'll be as a team as possible.
I like the way he's thinking too, and the receivers are thinking, let's help Bo. Let's
make it as easy as possible.
Yeah. But what that also tells you is they know, and this is part of the trust they have in Bo Nix, they know that if they get open, he's going to get him the ball. He's going to take care of his end of it. If they have an opportunity, he's going to find them. This isn't going to be Jerry Jeudy running, a flag route, getting downfield, and then reacting with such frustration because the quarterback can't see him. These guys, they can do that. They know that if they help Bo's going to help them. It's symbiotic.
Right.
Yeah. Like, by the way, Jerry Jeudy, Pro Bowler, Pro Bowl starter.
Okay. How many games did they win?
Well, there's a long history of great players doing great things on bad teams. I mean, if we're going to play how many games they win, Joe Thomas is arguably the best offensive tackle of the 21st century, and he never went to a playoff game. And great individual moments can happen on bad teams. I'm not going to begrudge Jerry Jeudy. I'm just, hey, but I will say this. It is, for whatever reason, Denver was not the right environment for him. Cleveland was the right environment. And oh, by the way, Jerry Jeudy's accomplished this with 3 different starting quarterbacks and a 4th one coming in because it looks like Bailey Zappi is going to start for the Browns on Saturday. So,
oh boy,
I just I want to tip the cap to Jerry Jeudy, but I also want to just kind of offer that as a comparison that, if, he did get frustrated last year, and I think the frustration was understandable given that he was getting open. And now you have a quarterback who, if receivers are getting open, he's getting them the ball on time and giving him a shot. And that, you can maybe say it's for Jerry Jeudy. Like he was here at the wrong time.
Well, and he handled his frustration incorrectly, or the fit was wrong, because you just mentioned Mims was frustrated in August because he was, but he's handled it correctly. Now, different draft statuses, different guys, of course, but I like the way Marvin handled it.
Different personalities.
Yes.
Marvin Mims Jr. did handle that better than Jerry Jeudy.
Yes.
Marvin Mims Jr. wasn't going on social media saying that he got his running in and his route running in the Kansas City game in 2020 after Sunday Night Football, and he, based on the timing, he's sending that thing from the back of from the bus,
Not just got on the plane.
Not the greatest moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still sitting there in the press box, just getting off of Zoom, and I'm seeing that like, oh boy.
Now you got something else to write about.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. But Marvin Mims, man, they're doing it, and it's exciting to think what it can be in the future going forward.
I mean, I think that it's worth asking this question: can Marvin Mims Jr. be a wide receiver 1 in Denver?
Would we have even asked the question like a month ago?
No, but things change.
It's not unfair.
As was said in draft day, to paraphrase it, we live in a different world now than we did a month ago. We live in a different world regarding Marvin Mims Jr. now than we did a month ago. We live in a world where he found his niche. We weren't sure if he was going to find that, at least on offense. I make the Rick Upchurch comparison often, of course, talking about the Ring of Fame receiver and returner for the Broncos from 1975 through 1983. And he got it as a returner before the consistency came as a receiver. You look at like some of his better seasons as a receiver, they're getting into year 5, 6, 7. He had to mature and grow a little bit. Now, we're obviously in a different time because of free agency. So the thing that went through my mind sometimes was, okay, what if Marvin Mims Jr. doesn't get there as a receiver before his rookie contract expires, and then he goes somewhere else and another team gets to reap the benefits, to harvest the fruit of what the Broncos cultivated over the course of those 4 years. And it happens. Emmanuel Sanders, great example. Pittsburgh put a lot of effort into him, but he couldn't advance past wide receiver 3 there. And so he hits free agency in 2014, looking for more, is about to go to Kansas City, gets the call from Denver, doesn't sign with the Chiefs, ends up going to the Broncos facility and signing with Denver. I don't want it to end like that for Marvin Mims Jr. in Denver. I want the Broncos to get the most that he has. And now that we've seen this role crystallizing for him, I think there's a better shot that we're going to see Mims start to maximize himself as an offensive player over the next couple of years, which may mean that the Broncos are more inclined to give him the bag and re-sign him. And then as he continues to grow and blossom as a receiver, the Broncos will get to reap the rewards of that and not some other team.
Well, we are some chatty blankety blankers. We have a somewhat abbreviated show today, but I got to tell you, Mace, we've still got a pregame show for everybody coming up on Saturday. That's going to be a big show. Our Friday show is something we've been building since Tuesday, right? Wednesday, we've been building for this show. So lots of good stuff coming up for you on YouTube. Not just this show, but all of our Denver sports offerings to you.
We had a long show yesterday.
Yeah, a little late night stuff.
But
somebody in the chat room said you didn't get the Beavis and Butthead impression.
Oh, yeah, it was that bad, huh? I was doing it.
Well, you didn't.
If I'm doing,
we didn't yet get there.
Beavis, yeah. I can't really do Beavis and Butthead. I can do Cornholio. I am Cornholio. I should pull my shirt over my head. I need TV for my bunghole. My bunghole, it goes, rah! Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have Holio? Do you have Holio for my bunghole?
That is a wrap for today's program. Again, big shows coming up for you on Friday and Saturday there as well. He's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey. How can people help us out on YouTube, Mace?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss
a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks. Stay tuned and stay frosty.